turtle lady to retire. The tortoises, Diablo and Delilah, came with me as a gift to Manzano del Sol when I moved here in 2010. I was delighted that they wanted the tortoises, since I was going to have to find a home for them when I moved here. They lived in my backyard for over 35 years, hibernating in the winter. So as you see, I have been their caregiver for about 50 years. I adopted them from a neighbor who was moving to Nebraska and couldn't take them with him. I am delighted to announce that Phyllis Loretta has generously accepted the job as turtle lady, with Carolyn Bonnie as her helper. Caroline has been my very dependable helper for some time. Of course, we are lucky to have Dave, our gardener, also looking out for the tortoises' safety and well-being. I'm not abandoning the tortoises. I will still look for them and feed them something for a treat when I see them. I just don't plan on having the responsibility of their care as I have in the past. I am afraid age has everything to do with my decision. Whimper. That comes from Nellie Chilkley. Thanks for Roadrunner Food Bank donations. Yay, Manzano! In the last month, our residents contributed another 19 pounds of food to the Roadrunner Food Bank. That means the total we have collected and donated is as far as 116 pounds. The donation box will continue to be available outside apartment 319 to receive your contributions. I will deliver the food to the food bank when the box is full. Roadrunner Food Bank is happy to accept all types of non-perishable foods, and their greatest need is for protein foods. If it is too far for you to walk over to apartment 319, call me, Jan, and her number is given here.
We can't hear you over there. Could you speak up just a little bit?
Okay, I'll try.
Thank you.
I'll try. Don't ask me to start over.
No.
If it's too far for you to walk over to apartment 319, call me, Jan, at the number that she gives here on the text, and I'll come and pick up your donation. Thank you. And that was Jan DeCourtney speaking for herself.
All right, page 2. And on page 2, Rod Banick has submitted a poem that I remember from my grandmother reading to me when I was just a little girl, 5 years old probably, but she lived with us all until I was 14. And the title is The Gingham Dog and the Calico Cat. The Duel by Eugene Field. And he had a very short life, 1850 to 1895, but he wrote a lot of poems. The Gingham Dog and the Calico Cat is about two stuffed animals who have a fight with each other. The unusual thing is that the fight is not witnessed by anyone, only by a Dutch clock and a Chinese plate, both of which hung on the wall. The clock was of a familiar design, wood framed, with Roman numerals and a pendulum. The Chinese plate, a common wall hanging in many homes, was blue and white with a specific design around the outside edge. According to the legend, a Chinese father had promised his daughter in marriage, and the daughter fell in love and ran away with another. The father took after them, and again, according to legend, the gods took sides with the lovers and transformed them into birds so they could fly away from the father. The painting around the edge of the plate shows the birds in flight. Gingham and calico are cotton fabrics of years ago, which were best known for their designs printed on them. Gingham usually had striped plaid or check designs. Calico was a coarser fabric, often sold in solid colors with floral patterns. Both were used for stuffed animals. So now, having only the word of the clock and the plate, let us hear about the duel between the gingham dog and the calico cat. The gingham dog and the calico cat side by side on the table sat. 'Twas 12:30, and what do you think? Nor one nor t'other had slept a week. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate appeared to know, sure as fate, there was going to be a terrible spat. I wasn't there. I simply state what was told to me by the Chinese plate. The gingham dog went bow, wow, wow, and the calico cat replied, meow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney place up with its hands before its face, for it always dreaded a family row. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. The Chinese plate looked very blue and wailed, oh dear, what shall we do? But the gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that, employing every tooth and claw, and oh, how the gingham and calico flew. Don't fancy I exaggerate. I got my news from the Chinese plate. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folks think to this day that burglars stole the pair away. But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up. Now what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock had told me so, and that is how I came to know. And that was submitted by Ray Bainig. Edwina Waddington has a little announcement. Why is bread like the sun? Think about that a minute. It rises in the yeast and sets in the waste.
Yeah.
Okay.
A Lone Pumpkin Grew by Zvi Zahavi. Don't ask me to spell it. A lone pumpkin grew on a green pumpkin vine. He was round, he was fat, he was yellow. No silly jack-o'-lantern shall I make, he said. I am determined to be a useful fellow. So he raised up his head when the cook came around, and at once he was chosen as a winner. His fondest wish came true. He was a proud pumpkin pie, and the glory of the great Thanksgiving dinner. For the glory of the jack is in the lantern as he sits up on the gatepost, oh so high, and the glory of the turkey is in the drumstick. Excuse me. But the glory of the pumpkin is in the pie. That's another contribution from Rod Bernig. United Women in Faith invite any interested women to join us for a special time of fellowship. We normally meet the fourth Tuesday each month in the Hobby Room from 1:30 to 3. Please note that our November meeting will be 1 week earlier than normal, on the 19th, due to Thanksgiving holiday. For questions or to RSVP, please call or text Sharon Christensen, and here again her phone number is given. And the information comes from Sharon Christensen. Do you enjoy reading? Have you ever wanted to know what a book club is like? If we invite you to join us, or if so, we invite you to join us. We meet every last Monday of the month at 3 p.m. in the hobby room. You can find the current read as well as upcoming reads on the desk in the library, as well as the door to the clinic, as well as on the door to the clinic. I'm sorry, folks. I'm having problems here. We have currently picked out the next 3 months of books in hopes of gaining more members. For November, we are reading The Music of Bees by Eileen Garvin. For December, we are reading The Paper Bag Christmas by Kevin Allen Milne. And for January, we are reading The Nightingale by Kristen Hannon. Books are selected and voted for by members of the book club. We are always waiting, open to suggestions. Don't miss out on the fun. Come see what we were all about. And that comes from Vanessa Jackson, the clinic nurse. Can you hear me now? Good. If anyone would like information about services provided through Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Church, please contact Marian Cooper, and here her phone numbers are given. She lives in apartment 212. She can also provide the Sunday transportation schedule. Services are conducted by Father Jacob Romero on the first and third Monday of the month, as shown on Manzano del Sol's activities calendar. Asked for a ride home from the meeting. It's on our way, she assured me. I knew Alice only by sight and had no reason to suspect she held unseemly designs upon my person. We followed her directions through nighttime streets. Turn left here. Move to right after the light. You may as well stop for a cup of tea. The reports were a bit dry, I conceded. It's the next house on the right, over there. Alice floated me into her living room. Make yourself at home. I'll only be a minute. Maybe you'd like to look at this while you wait. I know you're a poet. I'm a poet? I asked, amazed. Where did you pluck that notion? A little bird told me, was her disingenuous reply. With Alice off to her kitchen, I sat holding a burgundy storage box, Complete Works, lettered in gold on the spine. I released the clasp, opened the lid to discover a pack of papers, some neatly constrained by a metal band, others shoved in loosely. Typed pages, quirky manuscripts, scraps of paper defined the cache. This looks private. Are you sure you want me to read these? Of course, that's why you're here. I lifted the first piece, an envelope, and read a short exercise, a rhythmic, in badly rhymed couplets. I dug deeper into the stack and read a different version of the first. What do you think? Alice called above the kitchen sounds. I've only started, I hedged, wincing at another clone. Alice, in a glow of triumphant expectation, appeared with tea. "It's herbal," she announced, "and won't keep you awake." "Thanks for your consideration," I reacted, already numb. Alice's eyes blinked like little stars above the horizon of her cup as she awaited praise of poesy. "Good tea," I hedged again. "But what about the poems?" she pressed, lowering her cup. "I tried to tell you I'm not a poet. I'm not a critic either." "Oh, come on, tell me what you honestly think." "You're very fond of roses," I volunteered honestly. "I don't try to grow them. Too many pests. I only exult about them." Roses, roses, more roses in dreadful variations on a single simple-minded poem. Couldn't she abuse peonies for a change? Avoiding Alice's anxious face, I wondered how to effect a gracious escape. "Maybe you should submit these to a garden magazine," was the best comment I could elicit under duress. "Oh, I knew you would like them." "I will." I quickly observed the lateness of the hour, respectfully sealed the complete works casket, thanked Alice for the tea, and fled from the house past the planter of plastic roses, never noticing whether any living thing survived in her yard.
The fourth floor welcomes Thomas Samuel. Thomas was born in Gary, Indiana, where he grew up and started as an undergrad at Indiana University. And then he was off to the Peace Corps, where he met his wife. He was also in the Army Reserve. It's back to Indiana University for his MBA. But he didn't stop yet. JD Law from University of Tennessee. Associate Dean, University College of Medicine, full professor. University of Kentucky Dean of College of Public Health. Goodness sakes. Thomas and his wife had lived in Las Cruces and Cloudcroft. They also lived in Memphis, where one daughter lives, and they left there when their granddaughter went off to college. Their other daughter lives in Albuquerque. They also lived in all the states mentioned above. Back in Albuquerque, they already had checked a Good Sam in Las Cruces, so they visited several senior places, but chose Manzano del Sol. The best thing he has done is become a father, and a great marriage for 58 years. And that was submitted by the corridor rep, Ann Olson, on the fourth floor. There's something in the autumn that's native to my blood. Touch of manner, hint of mood,
You'll have to deal with it.
and my heart is like a rhyme with a purple.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks. Yeah, your dad asked me what it is.
Goodness sakes, let's start over. I think it's gone down the hall. There's something in the autumn that is native to my blood. Touch of manner, hint of mood, and my heart is like a rhyme with the purple and the crimson and the yellow keeping time. The scarlet of the maple can shake me like a cry of bugles going by, and my lonely spirit thrills to see the frosty asters like a smoke upon the hills. There's something in October that sets the gypsy blood astir. We must follow her from every hill of flame. She calls and calls each vagabond by name. Written by Myrtle West and submitted by Mary Gruby. Barbara O'Neill has submitted one of her own poems entitled Rainbows. There's an angel hanging in my window. She has crystals in her gown. When the sun beams on her, she throws rainbows all around. But only you, Lord, can make rainbows. They fill us with such awe, and you share them generously with one and all.
Well, we come to the November birthdays, starting with Julie Clay on November 2nd, Christiane Miller, all on the same day in room 424, Kathleen Shea, 11/8 at 625, Grace Andrews, 11/10, Virginia Niemeyer, 11/11, Michael Gothwald, 11/12, Millie Tiltweed, 11/19, Joyce Gamel, 11/23, Ruth Gates, 11/24. Happy anniversary, Wilbur and Audrey Yon. Their magic number is 11/26/1961. Welcome new residents, Donald and Nancy Burns in 221, Maria Villaverde in 231, and Stephen Borbus in 517. Here is a note from Sally Lefevre. Dearest friends, thank you so much for your thoughtful prayers and love and cards and hugs and notes, and for your presence to me since the death of my son, Eric. I am so grateful for your caring hearts that are an anchor and a symbol of God's generous outpouring of love in this difficult time. Gratefully, Sally.
And just a little aside, Millie Tiltweed is going to be she will be 99 years old.
Oh.
And she's one of our oldest residents, and you would never know it. She's in that swimming pool at 7 o'clock every morning, and that's probably why, and she never walks with a walker. She's very strong and very healthy. Well, the City of Albuquerque book fan did not come today. It said that it was coming at 1:30 in the chapel, and people were down to get a variety of books, but nobody was there. And they had sent a note to the people at the desk saying that they were short of staff, and so they would not be appearing today. And then there's the announcement of us reading together, and we're glad you're here to read the Apple Barrel together. The Residents' Council, and let's be sure that we attend, will be Monday on the 11th at 2 o'clock in the chapel. And there'll also be a group of the Armed Forces people performing the Psalms of the Armed Forces at 1:30, just prior to the Residents' Council meeting. But we certainly, I know, all want to be sure to be at the Residents' Council and see what to expect for the coming coming month at least, if not the several years. The Library Committee meeting on Wednesday the 13th. The Food Committee, and I know several of you, David Smoker, I think you're on that committee, aren't you? No more?
No.
He was on that committee for quite a while, and that's meeting on Thursday the 14th. Community Education Bill meeting will be on November the 20th, and this time they're having a presentation, the topic of which is Prosperity Works, and the presenter is Ann Lynn Hall. Then Project Linus, our wonderful gifted seamstresses and knitters, will be on the first and third Tuesday, as always, and 10:30 in the hobby room. Ping pong, and somebody stopped to ask our 94-year-old Sylvia if the ping pong group was still meeting, and she said a resounding absolutely. And it meets between 3 and 4 p.m. Also, Wii bowling on Saturdays at 12 o'clock in the wellness classroom. Then meditation, which is led by by Dr. Stan, and also by, I can't remember who the other person is. There's somebody else who alternates
Yes.
with David. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 9:30 in the hobby room. And then the very, very popular game, bingo, on Saturdays at 1 o'clock in the chapel.
Very good. The November ministry schedule. Sunday services at 2 o'clock. I think all of these have happened already, but they included Matthew Miller, David Whiteley, or maybe it's Whitley, I don't know. Bert
Whiteley.
Scott.
Quietly.
Quietly, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And Tanya Blankenship. Wednesday services at 6:30 p.m. November 6th was Patty Suka. On the 13th will be Patty Ebner. On the 20th will be Jerry Kuek. And on the 27th, Lorna Kuek. Catholic services every first and third Monday at 10 a.m. The celebrant is the Reverend Jacob Romero. Every second and fourth Monday at 10 a.m., meeting to say a group rosary. Here's an interesting poem by Anne Weems. I no longer pray for peace. On the edge of war, 1 foot already in, I no longer pray for peace. I pray for miracles. I pray that stone hearts will turn to tenderness, and evil intentions will turn to mercifulness, and all the soldiers already deployed will be snatched out of harm's way, and the whole world will be astounded onto its knees. I pray that all the God talk will take bones and stand up and shed its cloak of faithfulness and walk again in its powerful truth. I pray that the whole world might sit down together and share its bread and its wine. Some say there is no hope, but then I've already applauded the holy fools who never seem to give up on the scandalousness of our faith, that we are loved by God, that we can truly love one another. I no longer pray for peace. I pray for miracles. That was submitted by Betty Logan.
Here's another one, and her name is Floy Watson. Floy was born and spent most of her life in Southern California. She and her husband had their own business, and she and her sister also had a boutique shop. Later in life, she thought about leaving California as crime in her area was a good reason. She thought of New Mexico as she had family and friends that had lived here. As for her hobbies, she sews a lot, but Floy was an outdoor girl and loved to water, ski, snow ski, hike, and camp. It was an easy choice for her to move to Manzano del Sol, as she had heard many good things about it. She said one visit was all it took for her to love the feeling of Manzano del Sol. Floyd's best thing that he ever had done is to raise her one and only daughter, Judy. And Ann Olson has submitted that one, and also the next article about Lois Goebel or Goblin, Goebel probably, is the way she pronounces her name. So Lois was born and grew up in Iowa. This is also where she met her husband, who was stationed at KF base, and that brought them to Albuquerque. After high school, Lois went to business school in Iowa, and she finished her education here in Albuquerque. Lois worked for many years as a bookkeeper. Her reason for moving to Manzano del Sol were many: swimming pool, wellness program, transportation, having an independent apartment. The best thing she's done is to choose and be married to her best friend, who was her husband. And again, that was Ann Olson who submitted that. And Marie Carmen has just submitted this one little sentence: worry is prayer for things you do not want. Nancy Agnew submitted this little paragraph: if I had but one wish granted me, sure to come true, it would be this: that there would be peace among people and nations. There's simply nothing in the world more valuable than peace, and it is within each of us to choose it as a conscious goal.
Sandhill cranes have arrived for the winter. Sandhill cranes have arrived in central New Mexico from their breeding grounds in the northern Rocky Mountains to spend the winter. They traveled here in family groups, parents and one or two offspring, gathering in flocks with other cranes as they flew south. The first-year cranes need to memorize the landmarks on the route as they migrate south with their parents, because they will need to find their own way back in the late winter. You can often hear them before you see them as they fly high overhead. There are several distinct groups of sandhill cranes that breed in a variety of locations, including Alaska, northern Canada, and the Great Lakes region. Each group winters in its own location. I have seen sandhill cranes in the summer in the Anchorage area. I heard their distinct call as they flew overhead when I was above the Arctic Circle in Barrow, Alaska. When I was in Oregon on a field trip to see great gray owls, the leader made a detour where a female crane and her chick were feeding, since many in the group had never seen one up close. When people think of sandhill cranes in New Mexico, the first place that comes to mind is usually the Bosque del Apache. However, many cranes find winter feeding spots in the Albuquerque area. They can be seen in any location that has a farm, field, for example, Los Poblanos open space, fields adjacent to the open space visitor center, or large grassy areas, for example, the lawns along the Rio Grande Boulevard in the North Valley. As they feed, they stay in their family group. Look closely and you will notice that some of the cranes have brown-colored crowns rather than bright red. The red crowns of the adults are actually skin, not feathers. The skin on the crowns of the young birds will gradually turn red towards the middle of January. At this point, they start congregating with other first-year birds. When the cranes start heading north at the beginning of February, the parents, who mate for life, fly north alone. And the young birds who have formed their own groups fly together on the route they memorized the prior fall to their nesting grounds. During their winter in central New Mexico, they may move around between different fields during the day. They spend the night roosting in the Rio Grande, while most tuck their heads under their wings and lift one of their legs to sleep. One crane will stay awake to survey the potential for predator. If it sees danger, for example, a coyote, it will make a bugling call to hopefully scare away the predator. It also serves as a warning to the sleeping cranes, and the cranes will rise up and circle around until it is safe. When you see them in a field, most of the time they have their heads down probing the grass for food. They are omnivores, eating both seeds and insects. It is always sad when the cranes leave for their nesting grounds. Most have left by President's Day. If you are interested in seeing a sandhill crane up close, I have a stuffed, mounted one in my apartment. They are protected from hunters most of the year, except for a few weeks in the winter when they start migrating. Mine came from a friend's husband who was a hunter. That is from Judy Liddell.
Amazing. Isn't it just amazing when you think of the hunting, so many birds, and how they know exactly where to go.
Yeah.
And then imagine leaving your little youngest to find its way back.
Yeah.
You've got to memorize the way you went, and then the bird babies find their way back all by themselves. It's just incredible.
They're smart.
They are very, very smart. And they're huge too. They're a very big bird. I taught at on the west side, and it was always great to be out on playground duty because the children would hear them before the teachers did, and they'd say, there they are, and you'd have to look way high. They fly so high, but you could hear them calling to each other, Wonderful. It is really snowing heavily. It looks like
It's
rain.
coming down again.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm just going to read the back of this concerning the two trips that Ann Schroeder will be taking, or the announcements that she has to make. And everybody has looked forward to the Guatemalans coming for about 3 years. It's been since they were going to come, and then COVID hit, and then they couldn't get enough workers following the COVID period, and they weren't able to bring enough materials with them. And this is a missionary who brings the things from Guatemala and sells them in order to benefit the people of Guatemala. And they have beautiful, beautiful materials to sell. It will occur on Saturday, November 16th. Just one day. It's usually been a 2-day sale, but it'll just be one day from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 in the afternoon in the chapel. For those of us who've been here quite a while, we know what beautiful items made by the local artisans and crafters there. We've been able to admire and buy for ourselves or as gifts at such unbelievably reasonable prices. And those that are new to Manzano del Sol, you are in for a treat. Everyone, please help get the word out to anyone and everyone, and that means in the community too. If you have sons and daughters, tell them about it and tell their friends. If you'd like some flyers to pass around, come see me, and this is Ann, in Wellness and I'll print as many as you'd like. Cash or checks are accepted, but no credit cards this time. And then her other announcement is about Manzano del Sol's annual holiday bazaar. That is going to occur in December, the very first week in December. Oh my goodness, on Pearl Harbor Day. Saturday, December the 7th, 10 to 4. This has been a fun holiday event, and I'm happy that we're able to have it again. Residents and community crafters and artisans have enjoyed having a free table to show off their talent and wares. And Manzano residents have enjoyed not having to go outside the building to purchase some beautiful holiday gifts. If you or anyone you know would like to participate as a seller, please contact me or Perla and we'll get you on the list. Otherwise, please bring yourself, family, friends, and stroll around and enjoy the day and buy some unique items. And they're always, they're done by the residents, as she said. And you know, everybody knows our little wellness helper, Carolyn, and I can't think of what her last name is, but she has been helping here. Her 94-year-old mother had featured her, she's from Acoma, and she featured her pottery on the very first day that we were here for the sale, and it was just wonderful to meet her and to see what she was able to do. So tell everybody about it. Thank you. You've been so wonderful to sit and listen, and it's about dinner time, I think.